This is real Jake.
The voice in my head is saying no.
Yeah.
No, it's
My
fine.
heart says
It's
yes.
fine, because if everyone's recording now we have a good cold open of
Yes.
talking about Matt being,
I'm
I know this is
recording.
stigmatizing, but I don't care. Matt being schizophrenic and apparently hearing my voice in his head. So everybody pray for Matt.
I'm sorry.
Because that can't be easy.
I cannot pull myself together now. He was like
actually
so,
recording.
He was like so sure that you
I
said
know.
to delete
He was
the
like, because then he goes, "What?" He was so
Guys, let's not
stunned.
throw around the word delete because it may confuse Matt.
Oh, you're right.
He was so shocked.
I'm
I
sorry.
felt bad for him almost.
Wait, are we all did you say are we all cuddling? Did I hear that correctly?
We're not in the same room. Are we all recording?
Are we all
Oh.
cuddling?
I
We're
think I'm
cuddling,
actually
recording.
I think I'm actually schizophrenic.
You might just
Are
have
you
cotton
fucking
in your
recording
ears,
now?
buddy.
That's
Yes.
fine as long as you hit the red button.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Welcome everybody. This is Culture Illiterate. We're four friends. We're a podcast. We overthink comic book movies, and in an absolute lucky coincidence, this is our Halloween special because we're recording this right after Labor Day. But our movie's Ghost Rider, and that's kind of festive, and it's coming out right before Halloween, just like how we got lucky last year. And recorded Batman Returns and released it just at Christmas by pure coincidence. Anyway, I'm Jake. I'm the voice in
Oof.
Matt's head, and as the festive fun fact, my favorite slasher movie, like franchise villain, is Michael Myers. With me are the rest of my co-hosts, including the aforementioned Matt.
And I'm Jason, and it's just like the ocean under the moon.
You're gonna get us. I'm gonna have to. I hope you realize I'm gonna have to edit that down because I'm pretty sure you're past the second point where we could get taken down.
That's fine. It's
That's
is it
your
because
problem.
is that because I'm too good? Is what you're saying?
If that helps you sleep at night, then yeah, buddy.
I was too good at singing Rob Thomas. So my fun fact is that I'm too nice at singing Rob Thomas songs.
I love this.
Oh yeah, I forgot it's my turn.
Every week.
Anyway,
A weekly tradition.
I'm Matt, and my fun fact is that I just found out that I'm schizophrenic, and I occasionally hear Jake's voice even though he hasn't said anything.
That
I'm gonna
sounds
start whispering things to you when we're together and seeing if it freaks you out.
Yeah, it sounds more like a dream than a nightmare.
Well, I hated
boy.
that.
That was something. All right.
I
so,
feel bad for anyone listening to this with earbuds that had to hear Jake purring in their ears as we all just did.
All of our family, Jason, listens to this.
Yeah, think about how I'm your family, Jake. I'm quitting both the podcast and this family.
And
I am,
this family.
I am Sean. My fun fact, since we're going with a horror movie, I want to take from Jake's book and say what my favorite horror movie is The Thing, and not the 2011 one, the other one, and not the 1950s one, the other one.
The Thing is a banger. That is a good.
It's a
that's gotta be
fantastic
one of my favorite
movie.
horror films. That's actually fitting because I was gonna roll in and rapid fire horror wrecks off the dome just to feel like it, just so I could justify calling this a Halloween special.
Very
So
spooky.
The Thing, Night House, Nightmare on Elm Street, 1978 Halloween, 2018 Halloween, People Under the Stairs. What else you guys got? Those are some good horror movies. Y'all should watch them.
No. I was gonna recommend.
Crimes of
Crimes of the Future.
That's
Barbara.
the
Oh
one.
god. I was gonna recommend Barbarian because of the hairy baby bottle.
And Malignant while you're at it. We're
Oh,
talking
God,
weird
Malignant.
creatures. Malignant.
Dude, no,
Because,
but Barbarian
foreshadowing this movie
is
made me think
so
of Malignant.
fucking good, dude.
Ooh, if anybody's afraid of enclosed spaces, The Descent is really good.
I need to watch that.
You know,
Only
what's
watch
good
the
is,
first
Cool.
And for The Descent, only watch the DVD version. From what there's a theatrical cut and there's a what is essentially I don't know if it's called the DVD cut or whatever, but there are two different endings to the movie, and the second one is a lot better.
Noted. Thank you. Not technically a horror movie in terms of how it's classified, but I watched this movie this week called The Starling Girl, and it's about a young teenage girl in a repressive evangelical community. So it's pretty scary. It's not necessarily a horror movie, but you have a youth pastor that does things he shouldn't do.
You know, my horror wreck is the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. They're so
I
good.
just watched the first one not too long ago.
Oh, that's so good. They're all so good. It's a classic. Go watch them.
Oh, Hey Jake, you're gonna have fun with this. My mic was slightly unplugged, and so my default audio input is my computer. So
Is it still
enjoy.
coming? But
Yup.
your audio still recorded everything,
Yeah.
and honestly,
Yup.
I'm
We
fine
don't
with
have
it.
to restart. It's
No,
just
no,
you're
no,
just
no.
gonna have
I'll
fun
deal.
listening to
We'll live.
that.
I don't give a shit. Honestly,
We don't
my audio.
listen. We're not
The
running a
previous
real
two
tight
episodes.
ship.
Listen, Matt. The previous two episodes, my audio was ass, and I did my best and couldn't really do much to fix it. And there's every chance in hell that it's gonna happen again because I'm trying to fix the issue, but I don't know what it is. So honestly, least of my concerns. If I can put an episode out, thumbs up.
Yay! Hooray for technical issues!
Yeah, I'm just
Yay!
glad you didn't. I thought you were going to tell me that you weren't recording and we had to start over, which is going to make me sad because I feel like we've been gold so far. Or that you like had stopped recording because of this, and then I was going to like probably murder you.
I just
alright.
want to murder him in general.
Murder. No, and it's Halloween themed murder.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm also, as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this Team Edward Robert Pattinson cup that's sitting on my desk that I record at. So that's another, vampires, right? That's Halloween.
Vampires, right?
Any other Rex or life updates, stories you guys want to give, Halloweeny or not?
I love weenies.
Not really.
I got something I kind of want to say just because I want to see.
I
Jason's
know it, he's
camera
gay.
is not showing. What?
I said I know it, he's
No.
gay.
No,
I
I'm
knew
gonna
it.
say something that I think he'll judge me negatively for. It's worse than that.
Oh,
It's
no.
worse than being
It's
gay?
worse.
No, I started today, at the day of recording this. I
He's a
started
male
watching
stripper.
an anime for the first time.
What flavor?
Oh no.
One Piece.
That isn't
Why
that,
would you
that's
do
so, That's so many
There's like
episodes.
over 1,000 episodes. Why would you kill yourself?
You know what
That
Jake
was-
did? Jake
because
said, how can I... No. Jake, before... Sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna interrupt you. Before he gets into all that, I'll tell you exactly how this went. Jake decided he wanted to watch an anime, and he said, how can I be the biggest virgin? And he went through the anthology, and he said...
the longest.
He was like, oh, this is ages long and has all these different story elements that I can dive into. Guess that's what I'm doing instead of having sex.
Here's the thing. That's not exactly right, but
Not
an element of
exactly.
truth. There's an element in truth in that the appeal that I'll basically never run out is appealing to me. In reality, it's because the fucking adaptation came out, and I keep hearing about how good it is, and I keep hearing about how it doesn't make any sense that it's good, of like all the things to be adapted, that's the one that works. And it made me realize, like, I'm saying this as an outside perspective of like, I don't really watch anime. I've seen a couple of Ghibli movies. I've seen Ghost in the Shell. I saw, oh my god, some movie that came out like a year or two ago with some woman who sings and is pink and it's in like a digital reality. I don't remember. I wasn't into it. People really liked it. It wasn't for me. But I've never watched the series despite always being asked about it because you get that like crossover between like comics, manga, anime, and all that. But one of my things, and like I'm sure maybe I'm talking like an asshole right now, but a lot of them just seem overly self-serious, especially like shonen shit. But I kept hearing about this now, and it seemed just like goofy and not and like kind of lighthearted. So I figured like, what the hell? And there's so much of it that I have feeling like an unlimited amount to watch. So I put it on, and I'm about to boss baby meme it here a little bit. With like, getting real boss baby vibes from this, but honestly, Luffy gives me very mild Spider-Man vibes of just person doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do at a young age, and that was enough for me. It's good. It's good background viewing because I try to dub because I don't fucking feel like reading it. But yeah. I mostly dropped that because I wanted to hear what Jason's reaction would be, and it didn't disappoint.
I got a friend who's really into One Piece. And did you know that like they have like statues, like golden statues in Japan of One Piece characters?
I mean, it's
like it
huge.
is so relevant.
I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me. It's like the most popular one or something.
Yeah, he like posted, or not he posted, he showed me pictures
Wait.
of it. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, imagine if you went to New York and like there was like a golden statue of Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
That'd
Like,
be sick.
it would be sick, but it's not there.
What?
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
Maybe we should start that petition. Maybe that's what
Start
this
that.
is now. Let's
What-
start
what-
it going.
Maybe.
Link in bio. Sign up. Let's get it going.
What I need to know is, are you watching the 4Kids dub?
I don't fucking know. I didn't know there was
You'll-
multiple options.
You'd know. Swords and things are like replaced with some random stuff. They did some weird, like,
I haven't noticed
They-
anything, but I'm also kind of like multitasking. I just started it. I'm like 8 deep.
I hope to God it's the 4Kids dub, so it just like there's just a shift as soon as they drop it, and like
I mean,
at some point.
did they edit out blood? Because there's been blood.
Oh, that's surprising. They would have, yeah. So you're not watching the.
No, I've seen Zoro get stabbed and he's
Dang,
bled.
that's-
So.
I can't believe it. You're watching the wrong dub.
So I'm watching the better version, and that makes it the wrong one.
Yeah,
I'm
watching
the non-censored version. I said they
You
also
watch-
curse plenty.
You watch the 4Kids one. The 4Kids one is obviously 10 times better because they edit out all the things out that make it
They
like
edit out
That
all
sounds
those, clunky, inappropriate parts that none of us like, We
Yeah,
don't-
exactly. And whenever you see
not
anything
in
that's
this
made of like
Christ-loving house,
So-
whatever.
have
I'm
you-
a God-fearing
Sean,
Christian.
I don't want to linger on this bit too long because I feel like I got what I wanted out of it. But out of curiosity, have you watched it, or you just know this from reputation?
I know that because like back in the day, it used to air with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh
Oh,
on
okay.
4Kids, or on the 4Kids block that WB had in the past. I don't know if if you've ever
I
seen
never
the.
watched it as a kid.
I had seen some things. I didn't like it when I was little. I don't know about now. I'd never given it a chance. But the one thing that always comes to mind when I think about One Piece is back in the day they had a bumper in between the shows that they had when they had 4Kids whole block on TV, and it was them singing the American national anthem, all of these anime characters, and it is the weirdest thing in the world because it's the most American thing I can imagine, stealing from other countries to make the animation into these things so that they sing the national anthem.
Yeah, that's really weird.
It is the cringiest thing in the world, and I recommend looking it up.
Oh, you just unlocked so many memories, Sean. You just unlocked so many memories. I remember Sonic the Hedgehog singing the national anthem. That's absolutely incredible.
It's dreadful. It's awful.
I mean, so one little tidbit, just so you guys can laugh at me one more time before we move on. I found out today that the main character's name isn't One Piece. I assumed One Piece was the character.
Why would his name be One Piece?
I don't know. His name's Monkey D. Luffy. Why does that make any more sense than One Piece?
That makes so much more sense than One Piece.
I don't know. I just saw it. I figured, and I think because I was like, I don't know. Is Naruto's name Naruto? I've never watched it. I thought it was like that. Though now I'm realizing it's not like Dragon Ball Z. It's not the guy's name Dragon
I
Ball.
thought Ash's
My
name was
name is
Pokemon.
Dragon
I don't
Ball.
know, it just in my head it just made sense. I had never watched it. I knew nothing about it. I knew the
Wait.
dude had a hat, and I
Wait,
thought that was his
The
name.
guy who
I found
caught
out today that
the
he's
guy
stretchy.
with Pikachu
I found out
isn't
that he has
named
a-
Pokemon.
Fuck you. I didn't know they were pirate. I didn't know anything. And yeah, I was under the impression that the lead was named One Piece. So laugh at me.
Dude, are you a moron?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I
Like,
had no idea.
I would understand, like, maybe thinking that that's a possibility, but just, like, the
Well,
fact that you
like,
just
if I had no-
assume, like...
I don't know. It sounds like it could be like a name.
Yeah,
I don't.
David Schwimmer played Friends on Friends.
Fuck you. You know that was Jennifer Aniston. God. You know what? You know
I
who
love-
played Seinfeld on Seinfeld, bitch?
I love Michael Scott in his role as The Office.
Fuck you.
Though, to be
Again,
fair, Michael Scott...
Jerry Seinfeld.
No, but to be fair, Michael Scott was The Office.
Who show the BoJack Horseman? There's plenty of shows
Okay.
named after the
Yeah,
lead,
alright,
dude.
Seinfeld is a name. BoJack Horseman
don't
is a
know.
name.
Honestly, I
One
think
Piece
One Piece
are
sounds
2
like it could-
words.
I think it sounds like it could be a name, and I'm coming from the comic book world, where you have some dumbass fucking names.
Like,
Like Jacob.
I mean, yeah, Jacob. I mean, alliteration out. In front of Johnny Blaze, you named the guy with the
All
flaming
right,
head
first
Johnny
of all,
Blaze.
that's sick.
It is a
First
sick
of
name.
all,
How dare you
that's
diss
sick.
it?
I think One Piece would be a sick name. I'm not saying it's not sick, but I'm saying it's absurd that the
Literally-
guy who is a daredevil and has a flaming skull head got to be named Johnny Blaze.
All right,
I
We're
thought-
not naming things realistically here. It's
I'm
fiction.
so glad that you brought that up.
I thought the red truck was named
Because-
Transformers.
Oh, fuck you. Okay, this is gonna be. I'm never gonna live that down now.
Oh, that's so funny. But I'm so glad you said that, bringing up Johnny Blaze, because a mental note that I made while watching the movie today was Johnny Blaze is his name. Like, his name is Johnny Blaze.
Took you fucking over 21 years to put that together.
No,
More like
it
Johnny
wasn't me putting it
Slays.
together. I was just making a note
Really
that,
hit you this time.
It
that's
really
a
hit you
pro. That's
No,
it.
yeah, but
Checks
I mean,
off
that's
a
not a pro
box
for
in
the
the
movie.
in
That
the
was...
in a pro in the pro column.
Yeah, I know, but that's just like that was a pro from like
Well,
the
yeah.
character already.
No, I understand that, but like,
I mean,
it's
I just
just
say the decency to not randomly change it.
but what all I'm saying is that like I was watching it and it started and like they called him Johnny and I was like, Johnny Blaze, man, what a name.
All right. Well, honestly, at this point, we've kind of brought it back around. So yeah, we're covering Ghost Rider, and if here's a couple interesting facts about the movie that I don't know if you guys know. It released February 16th, 2007, making this just like Daredevil, a true Valentine's Day classic. And also like Daredevil, it was both written and directed by Mark Steven Johnson. So I teased in that episode that that name would come back around, and here it is. The cinematography in this one is done by Russell Boyd. So I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to hear if Jason's a defender of this film, since he was the podcast defender of Daredevil in that episode. But the movie stars Matt Long, Raquel Alessi, and Brett Cullen as a young Johnny Blaze, young Roxanne Simpson, and as Johnny's father Barton Blaze, respectively. Peter Fonda plays Mephisto, or Mephistopheles as they call him in this movie, or just the devil.
It's magical Mr. Mistopheles.
Magical.
Magical Mr. Mistopheles is played by Peter Fonda. That's what we're calling him now. And Nicolas Cage plays Johnny Blaze / Ghost Rider. Donnell Logue, who we previously saw in Blade and was a highlight of that movie, plays Mac. Eva Mendes is Roxanne Simpson as an adult. Sam Elliott is the caretaker / Carter Slade. And Wes Bentley plays Blackheart. So, had we all seen this movie before? And
Yes.
does anybody have, like, how do y'all feel about Ghost Rider as a character? in
Ghost
general before
Rider-
we even talk about the movie.
Ghost Rider is sick as fuck, and his name is Johnny Blaze. And I've seen this movie before plenty of times. I think, like, of all the movies we've seen, this is probably in the upper half of, like, amount of times I've watched them,
Wow.
to be completely honest. I've seen this movie a lot. Like, it's not super high in terms of this list. I've seen plenty of these movies a lot of times, but this is definitely in the upper half. So
It aired on TV a lot growing up.
it did, and I liked it a lot growing up. So I watched it when it came on.
I'm mostly on the same boat because a lot of times it'll come up on the TV and I watch it. And being
That's it.
an impressionable
That's the
young child, I greatly enjoyed it. My opinions of it have slightly changed, but I still mostly like it. It's definitely not as bad as I remember it. And you know what? Johnny Blaze is like an awesome name. That perfect name. It's like that perfect line between like porn parody and like just cool enough so that it's not like, it's not something that can be weird. You know what I'm trying to say? It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't. I mean, I guess it is true. I think a lot of superhero names kind of border on the line of like could potentially sound like a porn name, but also I just don't know that I've ever been like, these characters created for children. Porn.
I mean, Johnny Blaze, Johnny Sins. What's the difference?
It's right there, you know.
Exactly.
It's right there.
You know what? Johnny Sins should play Johnny Blaze one day. That would be my dream combination.
No, I never
Because
want to
he's
see
al-
anyone
he's-
other than Nicolas Cage play him.
I will make an exception for
At
Johnny
any
Sins.
age.
I would make an exception for Johnny Sins. That man has protected our country and cured the sick. Okay, he might as well also be a spirit of vengeance riding around in a gigantic flaming motorcycle.
For all people to be giving this speech. Just saying. of all people.
Hey,
Can't. This
hey,
is a wild one.
I may not watch a lot of pornography, but I can still respect Johnny's sins.
Look, sex work is real work. I'm just saying it's kind of funny that you're the one sitting here like.
Here's the thing.
Jake's calling you out.
Motherfucker, I'm ace, and
When-
it would make more sense for me to do
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Pornography is something that usually is off limits, but when it's associated with memes, I'm all in.
How are we getting into
What a
pornography
frick,
now?
what a
This
se-
this
what a
movie
se- I'm
has
sorry, I may have to tease this episode with just in quotes pornography is something that's usually off limits, but when it's memes, I'm in. Matt.
I don't think we're ever going to talk about this movie in full.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sean, did you even say what you like? Did you grow up on this as well?
I was gonna say, yeah, this is one movie I watched a lot when I was little. The one thing I remember was being so obsessed with this movie that I got a figure of Blackheart for Christmas, and the Blackheart in this movie is nothing like the Blackheart in the comics. Which
Wait, did you have? Was it a comic figure?
It was
Or
a-
this
it-
Ben Shapiro ass figure.
it was a comic figure, it was a comic book. It came with like a comic book that it had in the back, and then one of the I think it was I forget what it came with a leg, and you're supposed to buy like all the figures, and then you could combine all the pieces.
I had the Ghost Rider one of those. So, like, in a sense, I sucked your soul.
Since I
Even though you're the
sucked
gin-
your
even-
soul.
You're a ginger, but I sucked your soul.
That's where it went. That's where my soul went. But yeah, so I had like I remember loving this movie when I was little, knowing fair well. I think like the best way to describe it in terms of like more recent movies of the way that I felt from this movie was that it was a good bad movie. In the same way that Venom is a good bad movie. Where I love it so much, or at least from when I was a kid I loved it so much, so like I remember watching it a lot when it was on TV. Anytime it was on, it was usually like one of those things that you like listen in the background and just have it on. Nicolas Cage is an entertaining boy.
Yeah, I feel like the second I saw Venom, I loved it, and I love this movie the same way I love Venom. It's just like so stupid, but like I love it, and I can't explain it.
All right. Well, let's get into it then. It opens sometime in like the 1800s with Mephisto sending his bounty hunter of the damned, the Ghost Rider, to retrieve the contract of San Vaganza for control, which has control over 1,000 corrupt souls. Seeing that the agreement would give Mephisto the power to bring hell on Earth, magical Mr. Mistopheles, the Rider refuses and escapes with it. In 1986, Mephisto reaches out to the 17-year-old Johnny Blaze, offering to cure his father's cancer in return for Johnny's soul. The Blazes work as motorcycle stuntmen at a circus, but Johnny plans to run away with his girlfriend Roxanne. The next morning, Johnny awakens to discover his father's cancer is cured, but his father dies later that same day from burns sustained in a stunt accident. In the last moment between them, Barton had given Johnny his blessing about the plan, despite Barton's own misgivings about it. Johnny accuses Mephisto of causing his father's death, but Mephisto is basically like, well, couldn't let anything get in your way. I fulfilled my half of the contract still, and promises to see Johnny again, and then dips. Johnny runs away from the circus, but also from Roxanne, abandoning her. So the movie starts off with like a relatively lengthy like kind of prologue section, like 15-20 minutes. But I actually myself, I think it'd be kind of hit or miss when these movies do this, because I think a lot of superhero genre stuff, you're kind of looking to get right into it. But I actually thought it really worked here. I thought you spent the appropriate amount of time here, and I was actually really digging like young Roxanne, young Johnny. I could have spent more time there if anything.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually. I think like when it takes as long as it did to like actually see the title character, sometimes it can feel like it drags, but I don't know, I felt like it didn't at all. I felt like it was very entertaining and kept me intrigued enough despite having a bit of a slow start in some sense.
Well, it certainly helps when the payoff is good. When there's no payoff whatsoever, or the payoff is lacking, you are left with a bunch of rage because you felt like you were misled for like 30 minutes. But in this case, when the title character does pop up on screen, you can sit through all the build-up because there's actually good payoff, because the Ghost Rider scenes in this movie are actually cool. But we'll get to that later. But I mostly agree with what you two have said.
But yeah, and also, what was I gonna say? I lost it. Oh, no, I got it. I also feel like it was like there was enough action and story happening in those scenes, and I cared enough, like, that I didn't mind it. It was like, all right, this is developing somewhat slow paced wise, but I'm enjoying it, and I feel like they're building it well. And then, like you said, the payoff does help.
Interesting for me you guys say that because I'm actually much more invested in this time. Like, I'll keep it brief. I don't want to get into yet how I feel about like adult Johnny and Roxanne and all that. But for me, a lot of the performances in this movie are kind of weak, but the strong ones really come in this first half. With I found myself really intrigued by Johnny and Roxanne at this age, and Barton, even though he dies pretty soon. And I thought Peter Fonda, while I kind of wish we got to see Big Red Devil Mephisto, he had a good vibe. He was a good Satan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that too. I just think that, in terms of the way that the plot, and we'll get more into it, but I just mean the way the plot goes and the action pays off, it makes the build up worthwhile to me. But I do agree that a lot of the performances early in the movie are some of the best. I would say, particularly Barton, as limited as he is. I think his screen time is very impactful.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'll agree with too, is that like it feels like a lot of the acting is stronger in the beginning, and it I don't know what it is, but it just does keeps me entertained. It keeps my monkey brain going. I don't know how it just it does, and it does good. That's about where I can put it.
And it starts off on just the right note by having Sam Elliott talk to us. Like that's
God, yes.
Many more movies need to start and end with Sam Elliott speaking the way this movie did. I want to hear it.
Exactly. I second that.
He's the
I wish
human embodiment of like a good old fashioned.
Yeah, just smooth and nice.
Exactly. He could turn any sentence in the world and make it sound like it's part of a western. He just has that kind of voice. It's super sexy. It's super deep. It's the perfect voice to just gunsling to.
God, they're gunslinging all the time, Matt.
I never.
That's like my one major criticism of this movie is that we don't see a revolver in this movie.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to see like an actual Carter Slade like Ghost Rider Western movie. That'd be sick.
Oh, that would be so cool.
One day, or even just like a short film. Like if they did I'll get back on topic after this, but like a Werewolf by Night Guardians holiday special, like 45 minutes.
That would honestly be fantastic. I mean, like they. As much as they are, considering they were willing to do like things like Werewolf by Midnight and Werewolf by Night, but why do I keep and Guardians of the Galaxy, their holiday special, I really hope that they do I hope they do specials like that are smaller. Same. Like that. That'd be cool to see. Off topic.
No, but yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely seems like we're on the same page. I personally am just a sucker for soapy stuff, and I think it kind of hits those notes really well in the beginning. But as we get to present day, Johnny's become a famous motorcycle stuntman, selling out stadiums, but he's still traumatized by his father's death. He crashes during his latest stunt due to flashbacks. Meanwhile, Mephisto's son Blackheart has come to Earth and seeks the aid from the Hidden, three fallen angels, bonded with the elements of air, earth, and water to find the lost contract of San Venganza. At his next stunt, Johnny, what, vagina? Is that what
It sounds like it sounded
Venganza?
like you were
It's
gonna go
Venganza.
there. You sounded so close to saying it because you hesitated.
That sounds like
okay.
Gonzo's vagina.
I was gonna say gonorrhea.
My vaganza.
My Vaganza.
Speaking of Vaganza, at his next stunt, Johnny runs into his former sweetheart, Roxanne Simpson, for the first time in about almost 20 years since he had abandoned her.
He
Now
said,
she's a
"Baby,
news
let me get at
reporter
that
and is interviewing him.
vaganza."
And after the stunt where he leaps across a helicopter-filled football field, he chases her down on his bike, chases down her news van, and convinces her to attend a dinner date. Mephisto makes Johnny the new Ghost Rider right before this date's supposed to happen and offers to return his soul if he defeats Blackheart. Johnny transforms into the Ghost Rider for the first time, his flesh burning off his skeleton, and kills Gressel of the Hidden. He then uses the penance stare for the first time on a power that causes mortals to feel all the pain they've ever caused others, searing their soul on a street thug. The next day, he meets a man called the Caretaker, played by Sam Elliott, who knows about the Ghost Rider's history, and he assures Johnny that what happened was real and will happen again, especially at night and when he's near an evil soul. So, in comparison to how we all felt about the Johnny Roxanne dynamic in the opening, how do you guys feel about it as we start to progress through the movie? Because I'm a lot less. I do really like the scene of Johnny just impulsively on a motorcycle driving out of the stadium and chasing her down, risking his life blocking traffic, and then his like triumphant yes when she agrees to go on a date with him. I thought that was all cool, but for the most part, I just kind of like don't really give a shit about the romance. I don't really feel like Nick Cage and Eva Mendes like had any kind of on-screen chemistry like the younger versions of themselves did.
Yeah, I think I was gonna.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right, I was gonna say, yeah, that first part's cute. Him chasing after her was kind of like a little cute, and then like the banter they have while he's trying to drive up and catch up with the van. But like otherwise, once it gets after that point, it gets kind of weird. I especially don't like the part where he does get the yes on the date, and she stays, and they like show her staying at the dinner place at the restaurant. And they keep interspersing it in between him being Ghost Rider and that first night. And it's just her asking the waiter if she's pretty. And then he goes, eh. Like, I get the...
That's so fucked up.
That was so...
It's like, you know the answer they want, even if you don't think so.
It's like, that's...
I'm like, bro, aren't you trying to get a tip?
It's like, homie didn't care at all.
Which, like...
The courtesy thing is just, yeah, oh, of course.
Of course.
Oh, you're very pretty. No, he goes...
Maybe that'll be the poll. We can have a really misogynistic is Eva Mendes pretty poll for this, the question on the Spotify.
All women are beautiful.
Oh. But yeah, like that, I didn't particularly like that. I thought the joke was kind of funny, but like, not much else past that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was great, but it wasn't like bad enough to bother me. And the like silliness of certain parts, like the awkwardness of their first interaction after all the years, and then him chasing her down, like you guys said, like the silliness and funness of those scenes kind of make up for it to me, and I just overlook it ultimately, I guess. It just doesn't, it's not big enough an issue for me to be bothered by it, I guess.
I don't know. For me, I just never buy that she's like actually even into him, which makes it weirder when you have like Sean said, the whole scene of her being like so upset.
It's Nick Cage.
Okay, cool.
Nick
And I'm not throwing shade at Nick Cage. I love Nicolas Cage. And
He's
I've only
sexy.
ever seen Eva Mendes in this and Too Fast, Too Furious, which she's wonderful in Too Fast, Too Furious. Being the beard for Paul Walker's character, essentially. But I just like I don't think they have any chemistry. I don't know if it was just, I don't know, maybe this was a paycheck job for her. Maybe there's just some people just don't work well on screen together, but I didn't buy it, and it kind of killed a lot of it for me, because that's a lot of like the central story of it is the two of them.
I don't know. I didn't think it was bad enough to kill anything for me.
Okay. Sorry, Matt.
And
I was about to
plus,
say, it was
everyone
fun to
has
see
charisma with
the
Cage.
child actors or like the young actors having really good on-screen chemistry, and then for the main actors to come up and then come out completely flat to the point where you're wondering if they're the same people, because it is not there. That chemistry is long gone. And so it's kind of sad, because it does start out promising, but then once they all become adults, they're all pretty flat, with the exception of Nicolas Cage. And that's because Nicolas Cage just, I don't even know if he doesn't give a crap or he cares too much, but that man brings all the energy he can to every single film. Like, oh my goodness. Listening him trying to do like a southern accent was some of the funniest thing I have ever listened to, because it's like you hear it on occasion, but then I don't really notice it a lot of the time. I mostly notice it when he speaks like specific words. I don't remember which ones come to mind, but with the exception of those words, he just talks like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I think he definitely cares, because Nicolas Cage is a huge, massive comic book nerd. Like, he got a stage name. He's born Nicholas Coppola of, the Coppolas, but he got Cage from Luke Cage. He freaking bankrupted himself buying Action Comics #1. Of course, it almost played Superman. Like, I definitely feel like he cares. and I just think the reality is this is just not one of his better performances. I think the dude makes choices, and sometimes that's I respect it, but sometimes it's gonna be a choice that doesn't work for me, and is in my opinion the wrong choice. And like I think the accent work is kind of shoddy, and I think he just kind of like there's moments that I really like when he transforms into Ghost Rider the first time, he really shines because he's just being so wacky in a way that like yeah, that's probably how somebody would act if they had their skin burn off and turn into a flaming skull, but most of the time he's just really flat and kind of like he kind of has Johnny Carey this I don't give a fuck attitude in a way that's not interesting. It's just kind of dull because I feel like I'm not seeing I think he plays him like a repressed man child, which is nice in some ways. Like I really liked I wrote down like that he just drinks like jelly beans out of a cocktail glass, a martini glass, and watches cartoons. Like those are nice character notes that makes me feel like, oh, this guy never got over what happened when he was a teenager.
He doesn't just watch cartoons, he watches monkey videos.
Yeah, he wanted the howling monkey.
He wanted monkeys.
He wanted the howling monkey documentary on like National Geographic or whatever.
But like,
No,
there's like little
he watched a monkey play like do karate and chop boards.
Yeah, and he was cracking up at it.
There were multiple monkey videos.
It was such an over-the-top laugh. It was so funny.
I don't know if these are things that Cage wrote in himself because he's like very known to put a lot of like little quirks into characters that he decided on, or if they came from the screenplay or collaboration or what. But while like the little quirks, like the jelly beans and the cartoons and the monkeys all work for me, the actual performance itself is just very, very dry in a way that I'm like, I don't really care to watch you on screen, except when he's freaking out and turning into Ghost Rider, and actually Ghost Rider himself I like. I'll talk about that later.
I don't know. I couldn't disagree more. I thought he was so entertaining. I was very entertained by him. I loved his performance, and it worked for me. You said it didn't work for you. It worked for me, and I don't know. It was so over the top and so good. I felt you thought it was flat. I don't know, but the way he delivers his lines when he goes, "Nah, man, you know alcohol gives me nightmares," and then just holds up that like martini glass of jelly beans. That is incredible timing. He just does it and he kills it, and I love Nicolas Cage for that. And I don't know what to tell you. I loved it, and I thought he had so much energy.
I also loved the looks he gave.
Yes.
I loved the looks he gave, especially when he does, like, the point, and he has, like, the eyebrows slightly raised, and he goes, you. I don't know. It's just so dumb, but it's so funny, and it's so entertaining.
He's obsessed with dramatic pointing. Like,
Obsessed with dramatic pointing.
Every time he sees someone, when he's young Johnny and sees Mephisto for the first time after his dad's death, and then like every time he's Ghost Rider, just the like glare through the eyebrows and point.
Yeah, and every single time it's sick as fuck.
It worked like once for me. The only time it worked is when jumping ahead is when he breaks out of the jail cell and he points at that kid and goes, "Cool jacket," or like, "I like your jacket," and takes it. That was funny. That was the only time it like worked.
Well, no.
The other times I was like, am I supposed to be intimidated by this?
He beats up the one guy and then steals his jacket, and then he looks to the kid that got punched by that guy and goes,
"Oh, right,
you're good." He essentially says, "You're innocent," and then leaves.
You're right. Okay, you're right. That's it. But that's the only time that I wasn't like, "Oh, I want to shove this guy in a locker."
You are the worst.
My favorite one was when what was it? He got punched in the face. I think this was also in the no. I'm trying to remember. It was the part where he points at somebody and then he goes,
Yep, it's basically when he escapes from the prison and the police officer tries to stop him and hits him with a baton in the face.
That's
and
what it was.
unhinges his jaw. And then he just puts it back and gives him the iconic point and just wags his finger, and just goes on his motorcycle and kicks ass.
Yeah, and it's so cool. And Jake,
Jake
wouldn't know cool if it smacked him upside the head.
I'm bummed, man, because after I watch this, I skim through. This is one of those cases where I just feel like I'm living in a different reality than other people, because in a way that I don't like, because I was skimming through reviews after watching this, and a lot of people were like, the main criticism was like the histrionics, the exaggerated nature of everything, and I was walking away going, there's moments of that, and I really liked. The people were criticizing that. I felt like there was only a few moments that were like zany, and I liked those, but for the most part, I felt like it was almost like Sam Elliott as the caretaker / Carter Slade, the original like Western Ghost Rider, he plays everything really subdued in a way that I really, really liked, even though he's kind of just there to spit exposition most of the time. And it felt like it was too similar of a low key nature to what also Cage was giving, in a way that I would have liked to see a more wild man in their interactions, as to like kind of flip how, the new Ghost Rider versus the old experience been around the block one. And I just felt like I didn't get enough zany out of this, and the moments that I liked were when I actually did get that.
I don't know. I did not feel like he was subdued at all.
I didn't feel like it was subdued. I think it was good that
I
he
mean,
just
he
served as
like
like a mentor type.
chased a
And then
woman
you
down
say
a
like
highway
exactly.
and
Also,
I
screamed.
like that part. I liked that part.
but the thing
I
is,
said
it's
that.
just like
I know, but
his calm demeanor is really it serves to contrast when he goes to Ghost Rider and becomes regular Nicolas Cage, and that's what makes it so amazing. It's because it makes the Nicolas Cage things more rewarding. Because you're just watching this subdued man just go through his life, and then when he turns to Ghost Rider, he just starts screaming for joy while his head becomes a flaming skull.
So, okay, you guys are all pro Cage's performance in this movie. I am not. How do you guys feel about Eva Mendes as Roxanne? Because we haven't talked about her as much, but she's very important. I'm also not a fan of hers. I just, like I said, I just think they don't have on-screen chemistry. Her best scene, as much as we kind of complained about it, is probably for me that scene where she's actually by herself in the restaurant and she gets to like have some personality, if anything. But I just feel like she's underwritten,
Yeah,
and as a result, the performance is lacking for me as well.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
I
pretty
generally
accurate.
agree, but I don't know. I think she had some good moments, but overall was underwritten. Like, there's
Yeah,
certain things like for example in Superman Returns, like I feel like Lois Lane was a lot more underwritten in the sense that I feel like she didn't have any good moments where I was walking away and be like, "Oh, that was kind of a good scene with her." There were a few moments with Eva Mendes and as Roxanne that I enjoyed and thought were good moments and good performances, but overall, I would agree that she's underwritten.
yeah. I mean, like, it's obviously this isn't a movie about her, but I really do wish that they had a lot more I don't know, just more character, because like she becomes a journalist. I want to know why she or yeah, and like why did she choose to be in that profession? Why is she doing these things? They kind of just make it like a stereo. It just feels very stereotypical and not very. There isn't any context or like what's the word I'm trying to think of? There just isn't anything behind it. There's no substance. There's the word. And that kind of like it makes her character drag a little bit, and just also just like like you said before, the chemistry between the two of them really does kind of ruin it too. So it's like there are two things going against Roxanne as a character in this movie to me.
Yeah, and I think that I lost it. Matt, go.
I would honestly hesitate to call her a character because she barely is one. And then Mendes doesn't. Here's the thing: like in Lois Lane, the actor did well with the stuff she was given, and so I could say with more certainty that she basically was not given a lot of stuff to work with. But with this one, like Mendes just wasn't that great. She was really flat, and with the exception of the aforementioned dinner scene, she didn't really have much personality other than to serve as the love interest, which is really bad and boring. And whenever she's on screen, I'm just holding myself back because I know if I let my instincts take over, I'll just skip all the scenes including her and just skip to all the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider stuff. And honestly, it's not even a detriment to her. It's most of the characters in this movie that are not Johnny Blaze or Nicolas Cage. It's just all the characters are relatively flat and are not interesting whatsoever. And even Sam Elliott's character is interesting, but in my opinion, I think Sam Elliott really carries that character and makes it his own and makes it memorable.
One more character I want to talk about before we kind of continue on with the plot is Blackheart, because I mean, first of all the villain designs I thought were awful. I thought the Hidden all looked dumb. Mephisto actually has kind of grown on me given the context. I'm okay with how he looks. Cart's the worst. Blackheart, if y'all don't know what Blackheart looks like in the comics, like Google image it. He's also in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I believe, or 3. I don't know. No, 2. He looks so cool, and they kind of like sort of show it at the end when he gets all demony, but not fully, and it doesn't look good. I just don't like I said it before, like I get Ben Shapiro vibes from him in the worst way, and like there are both soulless. So
Well,
right,
there's
that
no
has,
good way
you
to
know,
get
that
Ben
they have that.
Shapiro vibes.
Well, okay, I know. I'm queuing up at them both being soulless, joke, Jason. Thank you very much. But my point is just like I didn't even like he wasn't like pleasant to dislike. He wasn't intimidating. I was just like, you're just this little fucking dweeb who's mad because his dad doesn't love him. Like I don't just like Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro.
Yep.
And, like it's just come on.
He's like
And
an angst teen.
Dude.
he's one of the most unpleasant villains we've
Dude,
seen so
honestly,
far, in my opinion.
sidebar, Ben Shapiro has to be like top 5 people I would love to give a swirly to. You know what I mean? Like just like old school
right.
bullying would go
Atomic wedge over the
crazy
flagpole.
on Ben
Yeah,
Shapiro.
no doubt.
Shoving him in a
No doubt.
locker, and then he'd
Dude,
come
I hope
out.
he sees this and blows us up.
He'd come out and he'd be like,
Oh, the left wanted you to push me in the locker. They told you to do that.
Is that dude? I'm telling you.
that's how he
What are,
talks.
what are the odds that our tiniest podcast at the moment of recording has 75 followers?
The left is in
He would
control
get-
of the
He'd
media.
he would get really butthurt if he heard this. Make some kind of tweet about the tolerant. So much for the tolerant left.
Oh, the
And
tolerant
it would blow up,
left
and it would be
controlling
fucking
the
sick, and it
media.
would be the best thing that
On this
ever happened to
podcast
us.
with 50 followers.
Hey, we're at 75 until we lose half of them because maybe they're Ben Shapiro fans. In which case, good riddance.
If they are Ben Shapiro fans, hey, come suck my nuts. I live at.
I live at.
But yeah, I mean, did you all hate Blackheart as much as me? Because, like, honestly, already I'm gonna say that's the worst part of the movie. It's like, fuck Blackheart. Just
Yeah.
sucks as a villain.
That's like my
This is
least
boring.
favorite part of it. I'm so annoyed because afterwards getting that figure of Blackheart, I was like, dang, he looks so cool. Why didn't he look like that?
Yeah, I
I
was.
don't know if
And, like-
Witch from Supergirl.
And like, I don't understand. This is one of the weirder things that I just find that we're gonna see more of, I guess, from these comic book movies, especially like the origin ones, where like it's you either have it's the superhero versus the evil version of themselves, or like the superhero versus like either something that's fairly like monstrous that they've turned to a human, or something that's supposed to be fairly I don't know, just out there, and they turn it into some nebulous monster that's going to destroy the world that you can't really see or understand or comprehend. And like, why is it that they're okay with like half committing to things? Like, they're okay with having this guy named Johnny Blaze who turns into a flaming skull and does all of this like crazy stuff, but you know, the son of Satan is off limits. We need to have him look like a human. It's just so weird, and like, I don't understand why you have to half-ass it. Just whole-ass the whole thing. Go all in. Make it weird. Like, you're already weird enough because I'm watching a guy with a flaming skull go around and stare at people to kill them.
That's the thing, though. It's like there's no justification to go over the top with the villain design because you have a hero whose design was literally made by a god person while they were on fire. Like, that's literally how they created this character. And then they couldn't do the same thing to the villain. The villain is just basically like a rip off vampire Robert Patterson. It's so boring. Like, I was confused because they say he was a demon, but then I just couldn't convince myself that he wasn't a vampire because of how pale he was and how
Yeah.
sharp his teeth were.
Hey,
And
I'm taking that personally. I'm pale.
and similarly to
You're a
Sean's
vampire,
point,
Jake. You burn, son.
Cool.
Similarly to Sean's point about when he got the action figure and realized that he actually looked cool and was like, what the fuck? I didn't have an action figure of him, but like once I saw what he looked like in the comics, I like actually hated his design. Like before I was like, yeah, it's boring, but whatever. Once I actually saw what he looked like, I was like, that's what they could have done?
That motherfucker's like 12 feet tall or some shit, too, normally.
Ridiculous.
He's intimidating.
He's a demon.
Here's my thing, right? Is that other than the criticisms which we mentioned before, why does he have to be the angsty teen? Like, why does that have to be our main villain? If I wanted angst, I would watch like the Blade movie because it has that good angst. It has that good angst. This, it just increases my angst because
I
of
was
how
thinking the
bad
same
it is.
thing. Deacon Frost, he's a worse because Deacon Frost, he has like similar but worse motivations. He has a similar but worse and more disappointing appearance as Deacon Frost. He has a worse performance than Deacon Frost in Blade. It's literally oh my god, that's one of multiple movies that are better that I'd rather watch.
Exactly.
The other one being
That's
Malignant, the
Seeing
jail
the
cell scene.
Because seeing the villain in this movie, it's just like watching a petty child, while watching Blade was like watching that petty child grow up into an asshole that you want to punch in the face.
At least Ghost Rider looked good though. Like Ghost Rider got a classic
That's my
design. He looks
surprise.
pretty good.
Here's the thing,
He's pretty good.
like Ghost Rider
But
is
looks
two
good.
different movies. It's Ghost Rider and then it's like some demon movie because the effects on Ghost Rider are so good, while like the effects on the villains are so bad, and then the scenes with Ghost Rider are so good, while all the scenes with the demons are so bad.
I'm just finding it like it's not like demons haven't been like how many horror movies are that have demons? Like I don't think there's an issue with general audiences like getting ahead of ourselves, but like turning Galactus into a cloud is dumb. But I can understand why dumb studio execs are like, oh, general audiences won't accept Purple Tiki Man. But like I don't think a demon would have been hard for audiences to get behind. Sorry, I just
Yeah, I mean, even then, it would have made, to me, more sense for, like, Blackheart to be Nebulous Spirit Monster as opposed to, like, a dude who looks like Ben Shapiro. I find it's still bad, but, like, Nebulous Spirit Monster Demon is more threatening to me than Ben Shapiro. And, like, one of the characteristics that I just don't get, like Matt said, is like him being like an angsty teen. This kid is like super old. Like Satan didn't just have this child. He's old. He's existed for a very, very, very long time, and it's mentioned. So like, why is he still an angsty child? I would assume he'd be something more of like I'd expect him to be more like Mephisto, but like again, I still expect some ounce of angsty teen, but like I'd expect him to be more I don't know if regal's the right word about it, because like he is the son of Satan, but like I'd expect him to be a bit more like, put together, I guess, instead
not
of
a brat.
Yeah, not a brat.
Oh, one more thing. This is going to be the last thing. The most unsatisfying part is that he's just a brat, but like he's not hateable enough for you to cheer Ghost Rider on when he fights him, or hits him, or shoots him. He's just annoying.
Yeah.
And you're more relieved when he dies, which unfortunately comes at the very end. So you're stuck with him throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, he's not fun to hate. He's just annoying.
Also, like, not only their designs are uncreative, but their powers are really uncreative too. They're just elemental demons, right? They're just fire, water, air.
Actually, I think it's earth, water, and air, you little bitch.
I don't fucking care. These guys die
I know I
within
got really
within like
angry
a
with
couple
that.
minutes of screen time. Okay, they serve as cannon fodder. The only one I remember is the one with dreads, because I was wondering, wow, you look horrible in dreads, and that's why I remember that character.
Well, anyway, Johnny leaves to find Roxanne, who's reporting the previous night's events on the news. At home, Johnny tries to control his powers, but struggles. Roxanne comes to visit before leaving town, and Johnny reveals himself as the Devil's Bounty Hunter, but she's unconvinced and just thinks he's crazy, walks away in disbelief. After a brief imprisonment, because he is suspected for the murders that Blackheart committed, Johnny kills Abigor of the Hidden and escapes from the police in a really fun scene that we talked about a little bit earlier. He returns to the caretaker, who tells him of the predecessor, Carter Slade, a Texas Ranger who had hid the contract of San Venganza, Vagina. What did we say it was before? At home, Johnny discovers that Blackheart has killed his friend Mac and taken Roxanne hostage, intending to kill her if Johnny does not deliver the contract to him. Johnny tries to use the penance there on Blackheart, but it proves ineffective since Blackheart has no soul. Blackheart then orders Johnny to retrieve the contract and bring it to him in San Venganza. So
San Benghazi?
honestly, just Benghazi? Is that
San
what we're
Benghazi.
political?
We're getting
We're getting political? Hillary.
Hillary. We already got political with Ben
Sauce?
Shapiro.
Well, that's not political. That's human decency.
Well, not liking
So-
Ben Shapiro was also human decency.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I just said was human decency.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Hillary as human decency. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
No, I'm gonna sidestep that landmine for now. But Mac comes up briefly in that paragraph for the first time, and I think that's symbolic of they kind of Donald Rogue's a solid actor. I haven't seen him in too much, but he's fun in Blade. He's really good in the Gotham TV show as a Harvey Bullock. And one of the things that I think is missing is I think the movie wants you to feel how isolated Johnny is and how Johnny chooses to be isolated because of the fact that like the movie's theme is not to live in fear, and I think Johnny lives in isolation out of the fear of losing people, and Roxanne is the one person he can't quite pull himself away from. So that's kind of the hope there. But Mac is someone who, like, the couple of times you see him is always trying in Johnny's ear, being like his better side and trying to convince him to, take better care of himself and to open up. But it's like not there enough, so that when he dies, it doesn't really feel that sad to me. I just wish we had more Mac.
It also doesn't help that when he does die, it's just so unceremonious that they don't even mourn
Yeah,
his death. In
that's
fact,
what I
Johnny
was
doesn't
gonna
even
say.
realize he's dead.
It's very sudden, and just at the drop of a hat that he's suddenly just dead.
Which you'd think would impact the guy who's traumatized by the death of a loved one already.
Oh god, yeah, when he goes by him and he just goes Mac in like the most deadpan kind of like he just walks past his dead body, says his name, and then runs off and is like, "Where's Roxanne?" It was so I wish he was in it more, and like his death was so unceremonious.
Like, holy shit. He's a horrible friend.
I think it's like
the dude just thinks.
of his relationships throughout.
Yeah, the dude just thinks with his dick.
I mean, I feel like it's more like he is in love with I like the idea of Roxanne is the only person that can, like, that he feels the need to be drawn to despite his self-imposed isolation. The issue is I don't feel chemistry between the two of them, so I don't buy that she is the one person. And the issue for me, I guess I should say, and then two, that I don't think they do enough to show Johnny as self-destructive. I just like you kind of see that he has a death wish, and it's also talked about that like Mephisto keeps him alive basically, so that he has him as a Ghost Rider. But I don't know. I just don't think they do enough. You kind of. I see the broad idea, but I just think there's not enough evidence there for me to, and there's not enough chemistry and actors, not enough Mac, not enough Roxanne for me to feel like, oh yes, he's self-isolating, but oh yes, she is his hope.
Well, do you know what this is a case of? Do you know the
Bad
saying
movie?
"show don't tell"? Well, this
Wait,
movie
so-
didn't.
but
But here's the
I
thing:
don't
this
even-
movie didn't show or tell that much.
I just
It
don't
didn't
think
do
was
neither or.
convincing.
Huh?
I just don't think it was convincing. Like I think there's enough scenes between him and Roxanne.
Oh,
but
no,
I
that's
just
what I'm
do
trying to
not
say,
buy the
like-
two of them together. Like I think it showed.
This movie
it
just
wasn't
didn't.
good.
It barely. I barely count that because they did such a poor job of it, where it just became almost subtle instead of just saying he's suicidal. Is just so bad. It's
It's also
so bad.
It's also kind of hard to buy him as self-destructive when he avoids alcohol. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because you think self-destructive Nick Cage, you think leaving Las Vegas, what he won his Oscar for, where he like goes to Vegas and drinks himself to death, and you know he could do that, but instead you have this dude who's like straight edge and is like stone cold sober. He just does motorcycle stunts, and it just feels like I don't know. You're right. Maybe there's not enough self-destructive behavior. I'll give you that. I would
Exactly,
like to see
like-
some maybe substance abuse or something, but
Exactly.
that's a weird sentence.
I know.
Sorry, I
See-
got tripped up on that. How about the
Oh,
action?
no,
though,
that's-
guys?
that's-
Hey,
that's a
hey,
good
hey,
point.
hey, hey,
That's
at
a
least
good
you didn't
point.
mention hot
We
children
want to see more
randomly.
substance abuse. That's what we want to see, right? Exactly.
But I mean, okay. I'll say this. I do think positive note. The action in this movie is good. I think every time he's Ghost Rider, which to me wasn't quite enough. He's Ghost Rider as a character has a lot of flair to him. No, like pun intended. And I feel like it's like you get to see these sides of Johnny that he maybe keeps hidden. But I really like it, and also just like Ghost Rider on a flaming motorcycle going down a building, and all that is cool. And I like the fact that he's a human filter, like a human Instagram filter. Everything he touches gets Ghost Riderified, like a shotgun or a bike, or the other Ghost Rider does a horse, who also has a good design. But yeah, I mean, I thought the action was cool. Shit with the chain. Kids love chains.
Chains. It's good.
Yeah, the
That's
action's
it.
very good. I think that's one of the highlights of the whole thing.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's like every single boring scene of this movie is always followed up by an amazing Ghost Rider scene. Like the Ghost Rider scenes are so memorable. my favorite part was when he becomes Ghost Rider in the jail cell, right? He takes the jacket and then he Ghost Ridersifies it because he just makes the spikes longer. And then in order to get out of the cage, he just takes his finger and then drags his finger across the bars and all of them melt with the slightest of contact with his finger, which is so cool. And then the way he ascends and descends the skyscraper, and especially the way he descends, he like, rides off the skyscraper and then uses the chain to line himself with the building. Like he drags himself onto the side of the building with his chain.
Oh, that part was
The way
so
he
cool.
lands. Exactly. That's why I'm saying like this. Like, it's like I'm watching two different movies. I'm like watching a soap opera, and then all of a sudden one of the characters his face is melting and turns into a freaking spirit of vengeance. The tone is so different because it's like being dramatic. It's taking itself, I guess, kind of seriously. I don't think it takes itself too seriously, but it takes itself kind of seriously. And then we get Ghost Rider, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like unleashing a dog. It just goes wild, and the effects are great. The cinematography is great, and so I'm just thinking, did someone just like make a bunch of action scenes, and then just write a movie around it?
Matt's throwing in
So
conspiracy
Power
theories.
Rangers.
Exactly like Power Rangers. Exactly like Power Rangers.
Yeah, because if anyone who's listening doesn't know, real quick, Matt, can you explain how Power Rangers works?
Power
This
Rangers
is
is
fun.
basically Americanized Super Sentai. They spoil. Okay, if you don't want your childhood ruined, leave now. But almost all of the fight scenes in Power Rangers aren't the American actors. They are the original Japanese stunt choreography team. It's just footage taken from the original Sentai series and then dubbed over by the American actors. And then there's a very, very few times in which the American actors are actually in the suits. Most of the time, they're just dubbing over action scenes. And
I was gonna say,
yes,
correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not like they even are like remaking the non-action scene parts. Don't they basically just buy the rights to use the action scenes and then
yep.
write around them?
There are some scenes that require them to have their helmet off, and those are the few times in which they're wearing the suit, and that's it. And then, of course, there are some occasions in which a suited character will meet with an unsuited character, and the unsuited character is not the is the American version, so they're going to have to wear the suit again. But
But the suits are very
When I-
lightly used on set.
yes, they are very lightly used, and honestly, I had a lot of reflection when I learned that for the first time.
How's your mind?
It blows my mind. You mean how I thought everything was a lie?
Yeah, more everything is a lie. It's a simulation, duh.
It's a conspiracy, man.
And
So
like,
I'm
the
gonna-
thing is like it blows your mind, but then when you go back and watch it, it's like, well, yeah,
It all checks out.
yeah.
Well, you just go. Then you just go to watch the original Sentai series and you just think to yourself, "Oh wow, this is better."
I haven't done that.
Yeah, I haven't done
I
that.
have watched all of Japanese Spider-Man, which is a Sentai show. That's fun.
Hentai show?
I'm gonna
No.
bulldoze through the rest of the plot. So Johnny returns to the caretaker, demanding the contract so he can save Roxanne. The caretaker reveals that it's hidden in a spade and tells Johnny that he's more powerful than his predecessors because he sold his soul for love rather than greed before giving him the contract. The caretaker then transforms with Blaze, revealing that he's been Carter Slade, the original Ghost Rider, this whole time. Slade then leads Johnny to San Venganza and gives him a lever-action shotgun before bidding farewell and apparently finally shaking off the curse, fades into the dust as he rides away. This scene is really disappointing because he says one last ride and rides with Johnny, and you're like, oh, cool, the two Ghost Riders are gonna fight together to beat Blackheart, and then he just fades to dust and doesn't get to be a part
Yeah.
of the finale.
So it's like
That was-
I only could transform one more time. So I'm like, when was that ever the case? Is that you can only be Ghost Rider for a certain amount of times before you disappear and you like disintegrate? Like
The most heartbroken. They didn't have the budget for it, I guarantee it. And
yeah, probably.
it's the most.
They only
little
had the
Jake
budget
watching this
for
on TV was the most heartbroken when he thought he was going to get two Ghost Riders fighting at once and didn't. Most heartbroken he ever was.
And you know what? Here's
And
the
I was a
thing.
cute kid.
The worst part was it's Sam Elliott. We didn't get the chance to watch Ghost Rider Sam Elliott. Like he's not even Ghost Rider, it's Ghost Cowboy. And then he just disappears. We only get one ride scene with it. And the worst part was it was so cool, and the music was so cool. Like the glimpse that we saw was so amazing. You just left wanting more. And it's not like an instance of where they showed us a little bit or they teased us a little bit and now we want more. No, they barely showed us anything, and it just oozes potential, and they
All right,
didn't do
one more
anything with it.
one Ghost Rider fun fact. Talking about potential. Sorry. Obviously you guys know about Slade and he rides a horse, and then you have Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch who both ride a bike. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Robbie Reyes, who drives like a muscle car, and that's what he uses. But I think the coolest one is are any of you aware of Ghost Rider 1,000,000 BC?
No.
Yes.
Does he ride a prehistoric dinosaur?
Close. He rides a woolly mammoth, a Ghost Rider-ified woolly mammoth.
Awesome.
It's
That's so
fucking cool.
tight.
But yeah, I'm kind of with Matt on this this one where it's like they give you such a cool scene, and like I love that as they're driving by, they burn the lizard and kill it.
Oh, the poor lizard.
The poor
you
lizard
imagine-
just burns up and turns to a skeleton.
It's like, and this is even different because this isn't even like fan servicey. This is serves the movie. But like, the only thing I can think of is like, could you imagine if like Toby and Andrew showed up in No Way Home as their respective Spider-Man, and then just like dipped or in it for like a few minutes to spout some exposition about the villains, and then just dipped before the final fight. And that's not even getting to the like, how do you feel about the fan service element of that? Because this one's like organic to the movie. Why Carter Slade is here and why he would fight Blackheart. It's very undebatably. Even if you feel like he's just an exposition dump, his motivations here make sense, and he just fucking isn't in the finale.
But also, like, the one thing that also pissed me off was that, like, obviously he says that, like, oh, this is my last time to turn into the Ghost Rider, and it's like, well, what caused that to end when you stopped? What, he could have stayed Ghost Rider the whole time until dawn, I guess, and then he still could have been part of the fight. He still turned once.
Budget and or scheduling.
Which, like, no matter what, it's probably one of those two in the end, but, like, from a movie standpoint, what the fuck? What the fuck?
All right. So, I mean, with that finale, the movie wraps up. Ghost Rider kills Wallow, the last of the Hidden, and Johnny gives Blackheart the contract. He transforms into the Ghost Rider to try to subdue Blackheart, but is rendered powerless at sunrise. Using the contract to absorb the 1,000 souls, Blackheart attempts to finish Johnny off, but is distracted when Roxanne uses Johnny's discarded shotgun to separate the two of them. Johnny shoots Blackheart with the gun, holding it in the shadow so it gets all Ghost Rider-y, keeping his own body in the shadow so he can transform again as well, and uses the penance stare to render Blackheart catatonic by burning all of the corrupt souls that are now in him. Mephisto appears and declares that the contract is complete and offers to take the curse of the Ghost Rider back, but determined not to let anyone else have to suffer the same fate, Johnny declines and elects to keep it, also feeling like he could do some good in it and not wanting to live in fear. He will use the power against the demon and against all harm that comes to the innocent. Infuriated, Mephisto vows to make Johnny pay and disappears with Blackheart's body. Roxanne tells Johnny that he now has a second chance and kisses him. Johnny rides away on his motorcycle, preparing for his new life as the Ghost Rider. So, all that said, how do you guys feel about the wrap-up? Personally, I think it's a clever ending, at least. The idea of, like, I can't use the penance stare on Blackheart, so I'll let him get the souls that he wants to make him more powerful, so then I can use the penance stare and, 1,000 souls to burn. I thought that was a pretty clever resolution. And if nothing else, I do think Johnny gets a decent arc in this movie. He does kind of end a changed man in terms of accepting the gift and curse of being the Ghost Rider and no longer wanting to live in fear. And not being as self-destructive and selfless. But how do you
Quote
guys feel about
unquote self-destructive.
Okay, well, okay. But what are your thoughts on the wrap-up, Matt?
I thought it was decent. I thought the rapper was pretty clever. The way they defeated the villain was pretty clever. It would have been much better if the villain had any semblance of threats, presence, acting, anything, But, it was still pretty clever. I really like the Ghost Rider shotgun. That was also pretty cool. That's something I never thought I wanted to see, and now I saw it, and now I'm more spiritually free. And yeah,
I'm spiritually free.
Yeah, it's a solid ending. It wraps up everything pretty nicely. It wraps up the themes. It wraps up all the character arcs that they had in the movie, and yeah, nothing bad.
What about
Yeah,
the rest of y'all?
yeah, I agree. It's fine. Like you guys said, it would have been better if Sam Elliott got to fight alongside, Johnny Blaze. But what we got was fine. It wrapped up well. It wasn't spectacular. but it got it done.
Yeah, I think if anything, the one thing that I did like you said, was the way that it wraps up and how he kills Blackheart. I actually kind of really liked the idea of, like, that wasn't something I expected. He puts souls in him and then uses that to kill him. So I thought that was neat. Otherwise, like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Well, how about overall thoughts then? Myself, while I'm already talking, performances are weak for the most part. There's a couple that shine, but a lot of those are underused. Like they're just in the prologue, or like the young versions of the characters, or Barton, or I really like Peter Fonda, but he's not in the movie much. But to me, the main three that you see, Eva Mendes, Nicolas Cage, and let me pull up his name at least, as I'm about to fucking disrespect his performance. Wes Bentley as Blackheart. I didn't really like any of them. Cage had his moments, especially when he's Ghost Rider. I really actually like the Ghost Rider stuff, both the action and the personality of that character and the transformation scenes. Probably my favorite scenes, the transformation, and the Ghost Rider stuff's my favorite part for sure, when he's actually doing all that. But I just felt like as a whole, I wanted to see more of either that Leaving Las Vegas type Cage performance where he's more self-destructive, or something like and then my hot take is I actually wouldn't mind. I know I've said before that I'm weird on, like, I have mixed feelings on, like, your kind of meta legacy castings, even though I'm about to suggest a second one in the history of this podcast. But I could see him coming back as a Carter Slade in a Ghost Rider reboot, because I think if he either performed that with, like, the energy he carries in Pig, where he's a man who's, like, beaten and broken by life and feels like he's kind of cursed, as like that could really work, or even something like Prisoners of the Ghostland, where he's barely speaks in that movie but is really fucking wacky. I could really see that performance working, but the performance that's given here wasn't for me. But overall, worst part has to be Blackheart, whether it's the character design, the performance, the general characterization. Pretty much nothing about it works, except for his death. The penance there in general, Vezrala is very cool, and I guess it was nice to see him die. But best part, the actual Ghost Rider parts of the movie, which are far too few and far between for my personal taste. Worst part, Blackheart. And for me, I don't recommend it. It just doesn't keep me engaged in a way that, like, I think this is comparing to a recent movie, like we just covered The Last Stand, I think this is a fundamentally, like, quote unquote, better movie by most metrics than that. But it also kept me even less entertained than that. I just kind of kept losing focus on this one. So I definitely don't recommend it.
I think the worst part for me was probably just the overall design of the villains. Like, they just didn't look like demons, and they were supposed to be demons. So, And then, for me, the best part was the jail scene. I thought that was, like, all the action and all the Ghost Rider scenes were cool, but that, to me, was the pinnacle of it. Like, just the whole scene from beginning to end I enjoyed. And I would recommend it. I thought it was very entertaining, and I don't get what all this bull hockey that Jake's talking about is. I think it's a lovely movie, and I recommend it.
I would also recommend it. This is definitely one of those, like, skip movies, like skip to the highlight movies, because the downs of this movie are pretty low. Like, the lows of this movie are very low, and so they're definitely make you want to skip it, because you could sleep soundly knowing that those scenes never existed in the first place. But those Ghost Rider scenes, and with some Nicolas Cage scenes, are fantastic. Like, all the Ghost Rider scenes are good, but then some of the Nicolas Cage scenes are also good. Like the ones after he, is trying to figure out his powers, he looks himself ripped as fuck. By the way, Nicolas Cage, holy shit! I did not know that was something I needed in my life. Anyway, he just goes. He just tries to trigger it. I think I have no idea what he was doing, but he was basically just looking at himself in the mirror and just doing the most random shit, and it's so funny. It's like he goes bleh, to himself in the mirror like he's trying to play peekaboo with himself. It's hysterical. But other than that, it's pretty mediocre. It's pretty boring. But the highs of this movie are really high, especially if you're a Nicolas Cage fan. So if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, I recommend it. If you're not, maybe.
Interesting. I think that's the first maybe we've had. I think we should include maybes from now on.
we've had a few qualified recommends before. Like I think I recommended Return of the Swamp Thing, but said you got to be with friends and not sober, or like, you know what I mean, like if your conditions are
Conditions.
met, yeah.
But yeah, so I'd say like my least favorite thing about this is definitely Blackheart. My God, he's terrible. His screen presence is annoying. His acting is not that good, and in the end, he just kind of comes off as very generic. Really wish they had made him look cool. And my favorite parts, I guess, my I hate that my favorite part of the scene is the scene where both of the Ghost Riders are riding down the long road and they burn the lizard. But that's my favorite, and it's also the lead up to the worst possible thing of like Sam Elliott leaves and you don't get to see anything else. But that kind of shit just makes my little nerd heart explode, because like it was just cool to see. Do I recommend it for nostalgia reasons? Yes. Actually, probably not. I do not I should say I can't
No
speak.
take backseat, Sean.
I would definitely say I would not recommend this. I look at it with rose tinted glasses, and nostalgia has heavily influenced me on this movie from having watched it as a child. So like realistically, I don't know if I could recommend it, but like Nicolas Cage definitely makes me want to recommend it.
Well, on that note, thank you to ALO VFX, that's ALO VFX, for the podcast artwork. Thank you to Nicolas Cage for existing and for so many memorable performances. And thank you to Jason for our podcast music.
I made the podcast music, and you can follow me at the Upsides PA on Instagram, the _Upsides PA on Twitter, and the Upsides on SoundCloud.
Yeah. Look forward to his album that's never going to release.
One day.
One day.
I believe in you, Jace. But
I'm
please follow
very busy, first of all, and it's very difficult to
Okay,
make
buddy.
music.
Okay.
Okay.
The second part, I'm making fun of Jason being busy, not music being hard.
Music isn't hard to me.
But please follow Culture Illiterate on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social that we have. It's at illiterate_pod. Reach out to us at cultureilliteratepod@gmail.com. And next episode's going to be a bit of an end of an era, actually, because we're going to be covering Spider-Man 3.